Bumba, the vibrant capital of Zandi, was a city of contrasts, a place where the ancient and the modern intertwined seamlessly. The city buzzed with the excitement of new opportunities and the charm of its rolling hills, creating a magnetic allure for those seeking to blend tradition with contemporary sophistication. For Grace and Trina, two girls from a small, unassuming village, Bumba represented a world of endless possibilities. Their village life had been a far cry from the glossy glamour of the city. Nestled in the heart of Zandi's countryside, their village was a tapestry of verdant fields and rustic homes, where life followed the steady rhythm of rural existence. The days began with the crowing of roosters and the soft glow of dawn breaking over the hills. Mornings were spent tending to the farm animals and fields, while afternoons were reserved for communal activities, planting crops, fetching water from the well, and preparing meals over open fires. Grace and Trina grew up amidst this simplicity, their days defined by hard work and communal solidarity. They had learned the value of perseverance and the strength found in working together. Evenings were marked by gatherings around the fire, where stories were shared and songs were sung, binding the community together in a tapestry of tradition and unity. Despite the contentment of their village life, Grace and Trina harbored dreams of something greater. They had always been curious about the wider world, fascinated by tales of bustling cities and sophisticated lifestyles. When they received acceptance letters to a prestigious university in Bumba, it was as if their dreams had been set in motion. The prospect of leaving behind their village life for the city's dazzling lights filled them with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Their journey to Bumba was an adventure in itself. After a long and bumpy bus ride, which they endured with a mix of enthusiasm and discomfort, the girls arrived in the city, their senses overwhelmed by the sheer scale and speed of urban life. The towering buildings, the honking of car horns, and the vibrant street vendors were a stark contrast to the serene landscapes of their home. Upon arrival, Grace and Trina found a modest apartment in a trendy neighborhood, a small but cozy space they furnished with second-hand finds from local markets. It was a far cry from the opulence they had imagined, but it was their first taste of independence and the beginning of their new life. The apartment, though humble, became a symbol of their determination and resilience. One evening, eager to embrace their new city life, Grace and Trina decided to experience Bumba's nightlife. They donned their best outfits, borrowed dresses and a touch of makeup, and ventured out to the Pulse, the city's hottest nightclub. The venue was alive with pulsating music, flashing lights, and a crowd that exuded sophistication and wealth. Grace and Trina, though feeling slightly out of place in their borrowed glamour, were exhilarated by the energy and vibrancy of the scene. As they stepped into the club, they were immediately swept up in the rhythm of the night. They danced with abandon, their laughter mingling with the beats of the music. The experience was intoxicating, a heady mix of excitement and liberation that made them feel as though they had truly arrived in a world of endless possibilities. For a moment, the hardships of their past seemed distant, replaced by the thrill of their newfound freedom and the promise of a glamorous future. Their first night in Bumba was a celebration of their arrival, a symbol of their departure from the simplicity of village life and their entry into a world of high-class dreams and modern sophistication. As the weeks rolled by, Grace and Trina seamlessly immersed themselves into Bumba's high-class scene. They became fixtures at the Pulse and other upscale venues, their once modest appearances now transformed into symbols of high fashion and sophistication. Their Instagram feeds glittered with glamorous snapshots, champagne toasts, elegant dinners, and dazzling nights out. Each post was meticulously curated to portray their new lives as effortlessly luxurious. Their social circle quickly expanded to include Bumba's elite, high-profile students, young professionals, and ambitious entrepreneurs. Invitations to exclusive parties and private events flowed in, and the girls reveled in their newfound acceptance. These gatherings were often held in opulent settings, with champagne flowing freely and conversations revolving around business deals and luxury. Grace and Trina felt a rush of exhilaration, believing they had finally arrived at the pinnacle of success. The girls indulged in the finer things with designer clothes that made them feel like celebrities, extravagant dinners at the city's most exclusive restaurants, and flashy outings that seemed straight out of a high-fashion magazine. Yet, the glamour came at a price. Their mounting credit card debts began to cast a shadow over their extravagant lifestyle. The costs of maintaining their high-class facade were adding up, and the pressure to keep up appearances was relentless. The initial thrill of their new life began to wane as cracks started to appear in their glossy veneer. Grace, who had embraced the high life with boundless enthusiasm, began to feel the weight of her choices. The constant barrage of social obligations and the need to stay on top of the latest trends left her feeling increasingly anxious. The excitement that once fueled her now gave way to a gnawing sense of unease. Trina, on the other hand, struggled with more tangible issues. The long nights of partying, irregular meals, and the stress of trying to fit into a world so different from her roots took a toll on her health. She began experiencing frequent headaches and bouts of exhaustion that she could no longer ignore. Her vibrant energy from earlier days had been replaced by a pervasive sense of fatigue. Despite their glamorous outward appearance, Grace and Trina found themselves grappling with the reality of their choices. The high life they had so eagerly embraced now seemed like a dangerous game of keeping up appearances. Their attempts to juggle their studies, social obligations, and the mounting financial pressures were increasingly untenable. They were often too tired to attend classes or complete assignments, their academic performance slipping as their focus shifted to their social lives. The superficial allure of their new lifestyle began to reveal its darker side. The endless cycle of parties and high-end events left them feeling hollow, and the constant pressure to outdo themselves and their peers took a toll on their mental and physical well-being. Grace and Trina started to feel the strain of their choices, realizing that the glamorous world they had so eagerly embraced was not as fulfilling as they had imagined. Their pursuit of a high-class life, driven by the desire for acceptance and success, was beginning to unravel. The cracks in their facade were widening, and they were left to confront the consequences of their choices. The excitement of the high life had come with unexpected costs, and the reality of their situation began to set in, casting a long shadow over their once bright and ambitious dreams. The turning point in Grace and Trina's headlong plunge into Bomba's high society came one fateful night at a grand masquerade ball. Hosted by a wealthy businessman known for his extravagant parties, the event was the epitome of high-class bamba. The ballroom was a vision of splendor, with shimmering crystal chandeliers casting a golden glow over the elegantly dressed guests. Grace and Trina, adorned in borrowed designer gowns and ornate masks, felt like they had stepped into a fairy tale. The night began with a lavish spread of gourmet hors d'oeuvres and champagne. Grace and Trina mingled with Bomba's elite, their laughter blending with the strains of a live orchestra. They danced with abandon, lost in the music and the heady mix of expensive cocktails. The intoxicating glamour of the evening wrapped around them like a silk ribbon, masking the underlying strain their bodies were beginning to feel. As the clock neared the early hours of the morning, Grace began to notice a throbbing headache that seemed to intensify with every beat of the music. Her vision blurred slightly, and she felt a growing sense of dizziness. Trina, on the other hand, struggled to keep her balance. She had started feeling nauseous, her stomach churning with each sip of the high-priced champagne. The weight of the night's indulgence was taking its toll, but they pushed through, determined to enjoy every moment. Leaving the ball, the cool night air offered little solace. Grace leaned heavily against Trina, her headache now accompanied by a deep, persistent cough. Trina, barely able to stand, felt a wave of dizziness that almost made her collapse. They managed to get a taxi, but the ride was a blur of swirling lights and muffled sounds. Grace's coughing fits and Trina's groans of discomfort filled the confined space, each bump in the road sending shockwaves through their already strained bodies. Once home, their condition deteriorated rapidly. Grace's cough grew harsher, and she developed a high fever that left her shivering under layers of blankets. Trina's exhaustion turned into near collapse. She could barely muster the strength to get out of bed. Their once vibrant energy was replaced by a deep sense of weakness and dread. Realizing the severity of their symptoms, they sought medical help at a nearby clinic. The visit was a sobering experience. The doctor's face grew concerned as he examined them. Grace was diagnosed with a severe respiratory infection, a result of her weakened immune system compounded by poor nutrition. Trina was found to be suffering from extreme vitamin deficiency, a consequence of their irregular eating habits and relentless partying. The diagnosis hit hard. The clinic's sterile environment, a stark contrast to the glamour they had been chasing, was now their reality. The doctor's words about the dangers of their lifestyle and the urgent need for recovery echoed in their ears. They were faced with the grim realization that their pursuit of high-class living had pushed them to the brink of a health crisis. As they lay in their clinic beds, the gravity of their situation became clear. The nights of unrestrained indulgence had left them on the edge of a life-threatening health crisis. The once alluring world of opulence had now revealed its darker side, and Grace and Trina were left grappling with the consequences of their choices. The glamour of their high life had come with a perilous cost, and they were now forced to confront the harsh reality of their downfall. Confined to their modest apartment, Grace and Trina were left to confront the harsh reality of their choices. Their once thrilling life of parties and luxury seemed like a distant memory, overshadowed by their deteriorating health. The apartment, which had once felt like a symbol of their new life, now felt more like a prison of regret. Their friends from the high life visited occasionally, offering fleeting sympathy but quick to retreat as soon as their presence became inconvenient. Grace and Trina were left feeling isolated and abandoned, their social circle shrinking as their health continued to decline. The glamorous world they had been so eager to join had revealed its true colors: shallow, fleeting, and unforgiving. During their long, restless days in bed, the two friends had ample time to reflect on their past decisions. Their conversations often turned to the series of choices that had led them to this point. They discussed the nights of excess, the mounting debts, and the relentless pursuit of an ideal that had, in the end, proved hollow. The realization began to sink in: their pursuit of a high-class lifestyle had blinded them to the values they once held dear. On an evening, as Grace and Trina sat in the dim light of their apartment, their discussion was interrupted by a jarring knock on the door. Both girls, still weak from their illnesses, exchanged worried glances. The doorbell rang again, more insistently this time. When Grace finally mustered the strength to answer, two strangers barged into their apartment. The intruders, masked and aggressive, demanded money and valuables. Panic surged through Grace and Trina as they tried to comply, their weak, trembling hands fumbling with the meager possessions they had left. The intruders, clearly frustrated by the small amount of cash and cheap jewelry they found, became increasingly aggressive. The situation escalated quickly, and for a moment, it seemed as though the girls were in real danger. Trina, barely able to stand, managed to call for help using her phone, but her voice was weak and frail. Fortunately, the intruders fled when they heard sirens approaching. The police arrived shortly after, but the experience left Grace and Trina shaken. The incident was a brutal reminder of how far removed they had become from the values of safety and community that had once defined their lives. As they recovered from the trauma and their physical ailments, Grace and Trina had deep, introspective conversations about their past choices and their future. They began to understand that true happiness and success were not defined by appearances or societal approval, but by living a life of integrity, health, and meaningful connections. Their ordeal had stripped away the illusions of glamour and left them with a clearer vision of what truly mattered. They resolved to rebuild their lives on a foundation of authenticity and resilience, learning from their mistakes and striving for a future where their well-being and values came first. Determined to transform their lives, Grace and Trina embarked on a journey of healing and self-discovery. Their path to redemption began with a conscious effort to improve their physical health. They traded their previous diet of rich, unhealthy foods for balanced, nutritious meals. They filled their days with fresh fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, learning to appreciate the simple yet satisfying flavors of wholesome food. The once familiar pain of their illnesses gradually gave way to a renewed sense of vitality. Exercise became an integral part of their routine. Early mornings found them walking through Bumba's serene parks, the cool, crisp air invigorating their spirits. They joined a local yoga class, where they not only worked on their physical strength but also learned techniques to calm their minds and reduce stress. With every step and stretch, they felt their bodies growing stronger and more resilient, and their minds clearer. As they recovered, Grace and Trina sought to reconnect with their roots and find a sense of purpose beyond the superficial trappings of high society. They began volunteering at local community centers, where they assisted in organizing educational workshops for underprivileged children. The joy in the children's eyes as they learned new skills and the gratitude expressed by the community made the girls feel profoundly fulfilled. They engaged in meaningful work that allowed them to give back and make a tangible difference in the lives of those around them. Their experiences of hardship had stripped away their previous illusions, allowing them to see life through a new lens. They began to appreciate the simple joys of life, the warmth of a home-cooked meal, the beauty of Bumba's rolling hills, and the companionship of genuine friendships. The thrill of high-class living had been replaced by the steady, comforting rhythm of a grounded life. One afternoon, as they strolled through Bumba's bustling streets, Grace and Trina felt a renewed sense of purpose. The vibrant city that once represented a world of superficial glamour now seemed alive with possibilities for genuine connection and contribution. Their journey had been fraught with challenges, but it had ultimately led them to a place of genuine happiness and self-respect. They reflected on their transformation with gratitude. The allure of high-class living, with its fleeting thrills and superficial success, had proven to be an empty pursuit. Truer contentment, they realized, was found in living a life of integrity and self-respect. Their story had become one of redemption, a powerful reminder that the greatest fulfillment comes from embracing honest values and contributing meaningfully to the community.